Good morning, Wendy.
Good morning, Sherry. Good to see you.
Good to see you again. So you've got some really good information for us today, right? You're going to read the charts of Putin and Zelenskyy
Yeah.
and tell us the true nature of who they are and what the outlook is for them through 2022. In other words, we all want to know, are they going to make it or not? Right?
Interesting. Yeah. Very, very interesting information. Some things that I never expected to find, I found.
Good. Well, we want to get into that, but before we get started, I wanted Wendy to talk a little bit about her services because if you guys have any idea how life-changing the readings are with her, I just highly recommend it, guys. She has a very unique process for astrology and coaching, and you will absolutely love it. It has been life-changing for me. Wendy, just kind of tell us a little bit about what you have to offer.
Well, that's sweet, Sherry, and I really do appreciate that. I'm the kind of person where I like to get down to the nut of things. I don't like a lot of fluff. And
Yeah.
so when I do read a person's chart, I get really down to the important things, what really makes a difference in your life, why you are who you are, what energetic influences are creating the patterns that you choose in life, what you do, your career, whatever. And once you find out what's really happening and the truth of it, you can then start making choices. It's what people don't understand, then they can't choose anything, right? But this
Right.
gives you an opportunity to see the truth of who you are and then to be able to choose what you want to do moving forward. So it's very, very enlightening. And then how the planets line up for you today and what's coming from the future into now, what energies, it's just a very powerful, complex uh, group of informations that I provide.
Yeah, I know for me, when I started to work with you, I was really stuck in my career. And I knew I wanted to move forward and I knew what felt right and what didn't feel right. So I contacted you. We did a full astrology reading. You let me know what the next 2 years are going to look like. And it helped me with some of that direction. And now I'm working with you once a month doing the spiritual coaching, which has been very, very helpful. So thank you.
Oh, well, you're sure welcome. Yeah, it's something I love to do, and I think I feel pretty good at it.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think you
really
are
good at
pretty good at it. All right, well, let's get right into it then. What do you see in Putin's and Zelensky's charts?
it. Okay, well, one of the things I'm going to do in this video that I haven't done before is I'm going to actually pull up their charts so you can actually see what I mean. Putin has some very unusual configurations that I think you will find very interesting. I certainly did. So the first thing I'm going to do is pull up the chart of Putin here. And here he is.
Oh,
Okay. Now, first of all, if you'll follow the cursor, I'm not going to put color on this one. I'm going to put color on another one, but I don't want to take too much time annotating. But Putin is a Libra. You see his Libra sun here. Okay. Now I'll start out by telling you Libra suns are what's called being in the fall. In other words, Libra is not a sign where the sun can shine. It doesn't function well because it cares more about others than it does itself. So it's not a strong sign in terms of individuality and shining. And so he has that in the 12th house, which means the 12th house of Pisces is hidden energy. It's hidden stuff. And his Saturn is conjunct his sun. And that is like making a very sweet, kind Libra person very driven, very hard-edged, just it dams up the flow of energy. Capricorn does. And I will tell you too that Saturn in his 12th house says he's got daddy issues too, which I think is very interesting. He grew up with issues with male authority and his father. And so if you'll see over here in the 12th house, you have the sun, you have Saturn conjunct that sun, you have Neptune, okay, and Neptune conjunct Mercury. So ordinarily, he would be a very creative thinker, very spiritual, you know, just really, really talented in that regard. But with Saturn conjunct the Neptune, it dams up the flow, not only of spirituality, but also creativity. Now, he's a creative thinker, but it's highly, highly mitigated by this Saturn influence here. So this is a very, very powerful stellium configuration. Now, with the chart ruled by Pluto, actually, he's a Scorpio rising, and Pluto is the ruler of his chart. Pluto is the most important planet in his chart, and you see it right up here. This is powerful. He's got, well, he's got Pluto conjunct his midheaven, which is his career line in Leo, which means visibility, power, and visibility, and it's conjunct his south node. Now, those things that are conjunct the node represent a form of destiny, right? And so power is the name of his game. From the time he was young, power is what he's wanted. And it consumes him, okay, is the power in the world and being seen. So there's a rule in astrology that says any planets that are either conjunct the ascendant or the midheaven are destiny related and the most important planets in the chart energetically, the energetic influence of that planet. So power is the name of his game. And plus with Scorpio rising, we've got secrets, we've got dark energy. Pluto up there conjunct his south node, what he came in with, means, you know, that there are subversive connections. There are power struggles with other people. And we see that that's what's going on with him, you know, right now, what we know of him. You know, he doesn't take any flack, you know, even with his own people. You don't agree with him, you say something publicly, you're in jail, right? So this is not pretty here, okay, and this power issue. He also is very fixed in what he wants, and this Pluto here and Scorpio are fixed energies, and what that means is things need to be his idea. He doesn't like being told what to do at all, okay? And so and if somebody does try to tell him what to do, boy, I'll tell you, does his neck prickle. You know, I know, because I'm a very fixed person and somebody tells me what to do and it just affects you actually physically. So I know this is what he's going through. But what you see with him is not what you get. Okay. And Scorpio rising people and water people in general, especially on the ascendant, they hide themselves.
I was going to say, so what you're seeing is the public view and then the underbelly of what's really going on. Yeah,
exactly. And another interesting thing about astrology is that the rising sign is so important, and it's calculated by the time of your birth, and everything in your chart, okay, has to go through the rising sign to express. So everything has to go through Scorpio in his chart, which is, of course,
yeah.
Well, Scorpio, an enlightened Scorpio can achieve the highest form of unconditional light and love than any other sign. But on the other side of that, it can be the darkest, most evil, you know, sign that there is, like mafia and death, and, you know, and he exemplifies that kind of energy. And so everything that goes through his rising sign has to deal with that kind of information, that kind of stuff, what Scorpio loves, what Scorpio is, an unenlightened Scorpio. Let's put it that way.
There's always like this duality of every sign where you can be expressed in a negative way or you can be expressed in a positive way.
Right.
And is that free will? Like, is that just the way he's expressing it through his life?
Well, no, he came in with it, with the need for power. And Scorpio rising people start out living secret lives from the time they're little. Okay. They have secrets. They get involved with things that their parents don't know about. And they're usually really sexual. Now, if you'll see here, he also has Venus in Scorpio, when of course Venus is your love interest. He has Venus in Scorpio in his first house of self. So he's very sexual. And yeah. So this is also right up here. This Neptune conjunct his Mercury is fuzzy thinking. It's fantasy. Okay. He does not see things clearly. Everything goes through this filter, this Scorpio filter, and this Pluto filter. And so here, with his Mercury also in Libra, in conjunct Neptune, you know, he's delusional. He's delusional. And of course, in the 12th house, everything's fuzzy anyway. So he has some interesting parts to him that you wouldn't expect, but they're so highly mitigated. You know, if this guy were conscious and he was an enlightened Scorpio, this would make him really nice, a nice guy. Except for the Pluto would give him a little, or excuse me, the Saturn would give him a little harder edge. But this could be very, very nice and creative and imaginative, but next to Saturn, it just dams up the flow. So it makes it very difficult. Now, what he has now is his moon right here is in Gemini in the 8th house of Scorpio. He's got the Scorpio energy everywhere. And the moon in the 8th house too means he hides his feelings, that he's very stoic. He's not going to give anything away, right? And we see that about him, you know, just very.
Any of that hidden stuff isn't going to be offered up in the truth in any other way.
No. Like I say, what you see is not what you get. He has a whole different agenda than what he allows you to see. Okay. So now, the Pluto on his midheaven is very, very interesting in terms of his long-term process of life. Okay. This clouds his judgment and makes him totally unempathetic. He doesn't care about people. He's just concerned with building his power. And we've seen this play out. In fact, when I first looked at his chart, I went, oh my gosh, okay, I get it. This guy is something else. Now, in the 7th house, and this is a very interesting thing. And I will tell you too, he's very smart. He's got a Gemini moon. He's very smart. He has a very active mind. He does see both sides of things, and of course chooses his side, of course. But this Jupiter in the 7th house. Now, the 7th house is the house of partnership. It's also the house of open enemies. This could be his allies. This could be his enemies. Okay. So in the 7th house with Jupiter there, which means he's had lots of both allies and enemies. And we'll see how this shifts as we go into his transits. Okay. Very, very interesting. All right. So let's talk about Pluto square Jupiter. So this Pluto right here is square Jupiter here within 3 degrees. All right. And that has to do with drive for success, conflicts with people in power, but this drive for success. And of course, Jupiter magnifies all of that. Okay. And his Jupiter is very powerful because it's retrograde. Isn't that interesting? So this is an important square in his chart that creates tension around wanting to be successful and being around people in power, other people in power. He doesn't do that very well, does he?
No,
Being
no.
around other people in power. It's a real conflict. And of course, he's always fearful that he's not going to appear as powerful as he would like to. Okay. There is within him an element of insecurity, and that comes from all of this Libra energy. Libra is actually a very insecure sign because they don't know how to be themselves. Like the sun, it's in its fall in Libra. It doesn't know how to function. And so, you know, he has these kinds of insecurities that he plays big, he plays powerful. And look, you know, his Pluto's in Leo, you know, everybody see me, I'm the big powerful guy. And it's making up for insecurity, you know, on his part. Now I want to show you, and I think it's this one. Let me move this. Yes, this is actually as of today. And there's something very interesting here that I think you will want to see. And it kind of blew my mind. I haven't seen one of these in a long time. And we're going to put some color on it so we can actually see it. And let me go here to draw. All right. This is called a yod, or some people pronounce it a yod. And it's called the finger of God. It is a very powerful, destiny-driven aspect. And so if you'll see here, his Pluto is at 22 degrees of Leo. Now, if you look over here, his Neptune and Mercury are at 21 and 23 degrees, but within a degree on either side of Libra. Now, a yod has to do with what we call a sextile, which is 60 degrees with these two up here, okay? But then 150 degrees down to here, and see, transiting Neptune is at 22 degrees also, so it's exact. And so here is another quincunx, 150 degrees down to here. Now this right here, Neptune, is the activator or the finger of God in his chart right now. It's by transit. He doesn't have it natally. It happens by transit.
And what does that mean for people that don't know what transits are?
Transits are where the planets are today. This is where, this outer wheel right here are where the planets are today and how they are impacting this chart, which is him right here in the middle.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Okay. So Neptune, what does Neptune do? It dissolves things, and it is dissolving his power.
Oh boy.
And it is dissolving his ability to clearly think and communicate.
That's not good.
Now, no, no, I'm telling you, it's not good. But, you know, the way I feel about it, the powers that be that control the world, the elite, and those people that are behind whatever world leaders there are, if they don't want him there anymore, he's not going to be there anymore because they control that. And so what we see here is this kind of a disillusion of his power and his delusion in his thinking. And some people have said that he's gone way beyond what he should have done, that he wasn't thinking clearly. And this shows why he's not thinking clearly. And when you get this Jupiter right here, moving up to a conjunction with Neptune right there, it's going to magnify the whole thing. And that I'm going to show you here in a minute. Now, the other thing he has that is hurting his power is down here. So we have Saturn down here at 19 degrees Aquarius. His north node, where he's going later in life, is right here at 18 degrees. And they are impacting, okay, is Pluto at 22 degrees. So what that means is that he's got restrictions with his power. That there are restrictions coming, restrictions for him to continue in this powerful arena. Now, this is called an opposition. And what that means is forces coming from outside of you that are controlling or working against you. Okay, that's what this Saturn is. Restrictive forces working against his power. Isn't that interesting?
That's very interesting.
Very interesting, I know.
Very
Now,
interesting.
I want you to take a look at this because this is also very, very important. And this is Uranus transiting his 7th house of partnership. And what did I tell you? The 7th house is open enemies or allies, partners. Well, you've got Uranus there. And that means quick and sudden changes.
Surprises, right?
Yeah, yeah. And there's more coming for him there. But what this tells me is allies are leaving him. He isn't going to have any allies. He's going to have more enemies than allies by the time he's done with his goals here. So anyway, this is what's going on now. Now I want to show you for April 4th. Let's see. Oops, I got to get rid of that. Now let's look at this one, which should be, okay, April 4th. Now that's the next trigger day with Mars. That is when Mars conjuncts Saturn. Okay, that's a very strong warlike energy. Now let me go here and I want to clear the screen. Okay. All right. So we have the odd that we showed before. Okay. That's still in orb. Okay. His Pluto is at 22 degrees and Neptune, Jupiter is exactly affecting his, the Yod and his Pluto, Jupiter, and it's conjunct Neptune now. So this is big stuff. Okay.
So we're talking about April 4th. What kind of?
April 4th.
Yeah.
And so, and then what we have here, down here is we have this, the Mars conjunct Saturn.
Yeah.
And that is affecting his North Node. And also, you notice Saturn is exact. Okay. Saturn is exact on his Pluto right now, on April 4th. And it's going to continue to get worse. Now, I want to show you this one, which is August 1st. And this one is, hang on, let me pull this down. Come on, pull it down. I'm trying to get the annotate here. All right, so, all right. This one is really big because see this right here. No, I've got Klozinski. I'm sorry, got the wrong one. This is the one. Let's see. This should be it. No, that's April. Here it is. And this is Putin.
August. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Remember I told you to look at the 7th house again. Look at this. On his Jupiter, Uranus and Mars is exactly on his Jupiter and his North Node. Notice that all of those are at 18 degrees. Do you know how rare that is?
Oh, wow.
This is so powerful. This also means he's in danger. Mars conjunct his Jupiter.
Wow.
In his 7th house of partnership. This is huge. And this is going to be huge for the world. You know, this is happening in the world. This just shows where those energies are impacting him, which is his house of enemies and allies. And Mars conjunct that, you know, means there's going to be attempts on his life. No question about that. And we're going to hear about it too, because we've got Mercury up here in Leo conjunct his Pluto. So there's a lot of stuff going on there that is amazing. And then we still have Saturn in direct opposition to his Pluto, which is restriction on his power. So he's losing ground. And frankly, from everything I've seen, I will be surprised if he makes it through September in power. I think he's going to lose. I think he will lose the war, in my opinion, but I also think that he will lose his power because he's not thinking clearly. You know, he lacks a lot of wisdom and understanding and clarity and reality. He does not see reality, and he does not care who he hurts. But
Like
this
you said, he
is
has
huge.
fuzzy thinking, right? He's got really fuzzy
Yeah,
thinking. It's making
really
rash decisions.
delusional thinking.
Well,
Yeah, delusional thinking. So, but this is enemies. So that's a pretty powerful, strong aspect. Now, I want to take you into Zelenskyy here.
I was going to just say, how does that compare to what's
Yes.
going on with Zelenskyy, and is it the opposite?
Well, yeah, what I want you to see here that's important is we're dealing with the old and the new. You know, this Uranus square Saturn that's been going on is the battle between the old and the new. Okay.
And that started, right, January 12th, 2020, that started, right? Right around that time?
Well, yeah, yes, absolutely. And so Putin represents the old guard, the old way of doing things. And Zelenskyy represents the new. Now, he's only been in power since 2019. And before that, you know, he was a happy-go-lucky actor, comedian. They call him the accidental leader because he did not, unlike Putin, he did not seek power in his life at all. And that's not the one I want. I want this one.
So this was just handed to him.
Basically.
Yeah.
And I don't know why he chose to run for office. I don't know that. I don't understand it, but he's a pretty good guy. Let me tell you about him. All right, he's got his Sun conjunct Venus in Aquarius in the 9th house. Now, what that means is he thinks in a very creative way. He likes harmony. He likes balance. He likes beauty. Okay, that's how he thinks. He's got a good mind, good ideas. In that it's in the 9th house of Sagittarius, it also means that he's a humanitarian. He has great empathy. He's not hiding anything. Now, where I told you with Putin, what you see is not what you get. With Zelenskyy, what you see is what you get. Okay, so they're totally opposite.
Well, you see the pictures of him on the ground and his equipment, ready to fight for his people. Yeah.
Yeah, he's very empathetic. Excuse me, empathic, and very smart. This guy is a chess player. Okay, he is somebody who calculates what he needs to do. He thinks about it. Now, he's not going to give away, you know, what he's going to do, but you can rest assured that he has spent a lot of time thinking about it. Now, his chart is one of basically fire and air. And what that means is scattered energy. You know, fire and air are all above the surface. And if you see, you know what wind's like, it's just everywhere. There's no grounding to it. Same with fire, it just goes everywhere. But he was so blessed by having a Mercury in Capricorn. Now, Mercury in a person's chart represents how they think, how they learn, and how they communicate. Okay. And he has that Mercury in Capricorn, which means he sees reality. It makes him think in an organized, efficient way. Capricorn is very efficient. And it's also a couple things that can be arrogant. Okay. And but it's determined, and it likes to have a very powerful public face that people respect. He wants respect. Okay. But
Yes.
that Mercury is such a blessing to him. It really grounds his thinking and brings in structure and serious quality, and it's very controlled. Okay. And it can be, with all Capricorns, it can be a little bit my way or the highway. And that also tells me about the power in his chart. Now, there are three modes that we talk about. There's fixed, where it's your will. There's mutable, which is all about thinking. And there's cardinal, which is all about action. And everybody's made up of a combination of those. But for him, he has 6 fixed signs. So it is about his will. Absolutely. It's about his will. And what we have down here, which is so powerful, is all of this Leo energy. He has Mars in Leo, which is actually just opposite his sun and his Venus, which is just so sweet and nice. But down here, Mars in Leo, woo, don't mess with his homeland. Do not mess with him, because, you know, he will take control, and he'll flash fire. And you know about that, Sherry.
I do know a little bit about that, yes.
He's competitive, very ambitious, tenacious, but he loves his homeland and his family. And where I see that is he's got his moon also in Leo in the homeland. Now, there's another rule of astrology which goes, if that particular planet is within 3 degrees of the cusp line, it's red in the next house. So
I was wondering why you did that. Yeah.
Right. So we're reading his moon in the 4th house of home, family, the homeland, all of that stuff. And his Saturn there in Leo also means that he will be working for the homeland. Okay. And with this, now a person's moon is all of their insides. It's what people don't see, but what's really important to them, emotionally important to them, because the moon is emotion, right? And so he loves his country. He loves his family. He has great empathy. And, you know, Putin has crossed him, you know, and he's not, yeah, he's mad. He's not going to sit still for that. And we'll see some of his thinking issues as we move forward. This Saturn in the 4th house of home has a lot to do with cultural changes, that he's driven to change their society there to be better. Okay. And, but the other thing that's interesting about him, he's very loyal, and he's very generous, and he's very driven. They say he speaks 5 languages, that he is a martial arts expert, and into comedy, of course, and acting. I'll tell you where the comedy comes from. And of course, the acting is all that Leo energy. This is a man who was driven to be seen, not even consciously. You know, he's just driven to be seen, which is why they call him the accidental leader. But, you know, martial arts, he loves those kinds of things. He can dance, he can sing, he can do it all. He's just got these multi-talented abilities that's just incredible. Now, he has Gemini rising here. And Gemini rising and Jupiter in Gemini, this is where he gets his fast mind, his quick thinking. He thinks on his feet. And Jupiter there means that he is very friendly, that he knows he's going to be liked. He has great luck. He always lands on his feet. Okay. And this gives him a great sense of humor. Okay. And yeah, his ability to communicate well between the Gemini here and this Mercury in Capricorn. This guy is a really good communicator. Now, his his Mercury in Capricorn, but this Mercury in Capricorn is in the 8th house of Scorpio. And what that means is he is a really deep thinker. Now, you would suspect, because he has Gemini rising, that he would be shallow. Anything but with a Mercury in the 8th house. He's very concerned about deep issues, life and death, absolutely. And he knows how to research, how to fetter out the information that he needs. Very deep in that way. Now, let's look at, all right, smart, fast mind, okay. Now, Jupiter in the first, we talked about that. What we want to look at is Pluto in Libra. And Pluto in Libra, that's this right here. Pluto in Libra is a generational aspect that affected a lot of people, of course, back in the late 70s. And remember that Libra is the sign of justice and fairness and diplomacy. And when that sign is in by the planet or ruled by the planet Pluto, what that means is you will die to create that. Wherever Pluto is in your chart and what it represents, you will die for that. And so he is putting his life on the line for other people, for justice, for fairness, for balance, for harmony, for beauty in his country. Now, there are a lot of people that have that aspect, but when you talk to someone who has it and you say, how do you feel about justice and fairness? They go, oh, it's everything to me. It really dominates their life. And so that's another thing that he has going for him, is that those beliefs, you know.
I wonder if everyone is thinking out there now where their Pluto is in their chart.
Oh, I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are. And like I say, it's generational. It shifts about every 16 to 20 years. It shifts into the next sign. So after that, then it went into, I think they call it Generation X, I'm not sure. But Pluto moves into Scorpio. Then we have a whole different kettle of fish. Okay.
I'm Gen X, so.
Yes. Okay, so now let's see his situation here with these aspects. Now let's do his now. I think that's this one. Okay, March 10th. Now, here is where the planets are today for him. And so right on his Sun and his Venus is this conjunction between Venus and Mars. That Mars is sitting right on his Sun. And when you have two planets like Mars and Venus together, it's called like a planetary war. They're fighting against each other. Their enemies or their energies are different. So what he's fighting, he has this peace-loving part of him, but he's having to be warlike, isn't he? He's having to defend his homeland. But trust me, this is hard on him because he's got Venus conjunct his Sun, which means empathy and kindness and beauty and harmony. And he's having to take on this Mars energy, which is really against his nature. But he's doing it because he's protecting his homeland, which means everything to him. So he's got this stuff here that is bothersome to him in his making decisions about his country. And then we get over here into his 10th house of career. Wow. Jeez. You've got Saturn right here conjunct his midheaven, and which is the career line. So Saturn in Aquarius. Now, Saturn is actually pretty happy in the 10th house of career. It rules the 10th house of career. But at the same time, it can create, again, restriction. And so, and then he's got this with Pluto up here, not Pluto, excuse me, Neptune. He's got Neptune up here in his 10th house, which means and Jupiter, there's a lot going on here that could go one way or the other. Now, as you've seen in my other videos, and if you haven't watched my other videos of late, you need to go back and do that, because I explain what all these aspects are in detail. And so Jupiter conjunct Neptune in Pisces can mean great awakening. Maybe through all this pain, there are going to be a lot of people waking up in Ukraine. So it becomes a great awakening, or it creates the downside of Neptune in Pisces, of delusion, insanity, okay, to where, you know, it's also the savior complex. Just do what we tell you and we'll save you. So it could be either, or it could be a combination. But that's a lot of stressful energy, emotional energy, tremendous emotion going on there with his people. And, you know, and then his decision making. He's scared. And I will tell you too, this Mars means he's under attack. I think they've already said he's foiled a dozen attacks on his life already. This is, you know, somebody's trying to kill him. And we all know who it is, but
Right.
yeah. And so he's having to really protect himself, okay? So now let's go down to the next one, which is April 4th. Now, Saturn and Mars and Venus all now move into his 10th house of career. Aggressive, warlike energy. This Saturn Mars is the second trigger that I've been talking about. This is dangerous, dangerous energy on the global stage. This is a lot of explosion, explosive energy. And this, you know, is happening in his territory. And now we also have on April 4th, Jupiter and Neptune are exactly conjunct there. And it can relate to things just not being clear. All right. And I get that with him right now. You know, he's trying to figure everything out, but Putin isn't laying out all of his plans. So Zelenskyy has got to try and figure out what his next steps are with fuzzy energy. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what's going on there. And that's really hard on him, you know, and you can see it when he talks. He says things, but you know he's thinking on his feet. You can feel that. He's thinking as he goes. Now let's go to the next one. And this is August 1st. Now this is that nasty energy that is after Putin. The Mars North Node and Uranus at 18 degrees of Taurus. Now this is really good in here, because now what was affecting all of this so powerfully has moved on, and it's literally leaving his 11th house now. All of these now are actually in his 12th house, where they're not doing any damage. So things look pretty good for him.
By August.
Yeah. Well, and they're going to look good for him before that, actually. I think if he can make it through March, mid-April, he's going to be fine. Unlike Putin, who the further down the road it gets into 22, he's in more danger. Okay. And my sense is that Zelensky's going to win this battle. And he's not just going to win it, you know, there in Ukraine, but he's winning it on the world stage as well. And he's being treated with respect. You know, Putin is kind of like batting like a mosquito off of him. That's how he feels about it. You know, how dare you get in my way? But it's kind of like Rambo. He doesn't know who he's dealing with.
So you got Zelenskyy, who's like with the people down on the ground.
Right. And
And yeah,
he's gonna,
getting respect from people, saying, if you're gonna fight, I'm gonna fight.
yeah, and doing everything possible to win this war. And remember, he's fixed. He does not want to lose. With all this Leo energy, he likes to win. He doesn't like to lose. But he doesn't think power, he thinks strategy. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah.
Where for Putin, everything is about power. But for him, it's using his mind for strategy to win that chess game. Okay. And a lot, he's kind of flying by the seat of his pants, because he's just going, day to day. He lives in the now and is working to save his hide so he can save his people. You understand?
So there's
Who's
no altruism. There's no altruism with Putin. It's just,
no,
yeah.
it's maintaining his power and his reputation in the world. But with Zelenskyy, he is putting his life, he is putting everything on the line for his people. And that means everything to him.
Mm.
So you see the difference in these people. Like I say, Zelenskyy represents the new way of looking at things, the new leader who cares. And what's going on with Putin is the old guard that's leaving. That type of environment, those types of fascist regimes, these old guard regimes, they're on their way out. It may
Yeah, and
take
I think collectively we've all seen that now, and you can see people changing, like, this isn't working anymore. This strict top-down, very restrictive, controlling energy is now, and I can see a group of people that are over here more people-oriented. We the people,
yes,
work on the land, exchange, barter, work with each other, help each other, support each other kind of energy.
completely different energies. And of course, for someone like this, for Putin to come in and say, we're going to take this over, we're going to bomb you. Zelenskyy will say, no, you're not. No, you're not. And so he's going to pull all the stops out to win this war and this conflict. And he needs help, though. And I'm hoping that help will come. I know that a lot of their people are escaping into Poland. If Putin, and this is conjecture, but I think there's basis for, fact in it, is that if he is able to win Ukraine, then he's going to go into Poland and probably Hungary.
Jeez.
Yeah, he's going to go, flex his muscle and say, all right, let's just take it all over and be one country. So there's a lot more at stake here than just Ukraine. Okay. And
I
it
think
also,
they know that. I think they can see that and feel that too in Poland. And
yeah, exactly. And they're doing what they can to help. So many refugees, over 2 million now, have gone into Poland. So this is an interesting study of the differences in these people and what they're doing and what their motives are. To me, that is fascinating. And that yod in Putin's chart is just so powerful and telling that everything that he's desired to do is dissolving.
wow.
And there are a lot of people that think that he went out of his depth on this thing, that he wasn't wise enough. He wasn't thoughtful enough about what he was doing and the aftermath that would happen as a result of him doing it. We live in a completely different world now than we did in World War II. And we didn't have cell phones with cameras, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, and we've got social media. It's like there isn't much anybody can get away with in terms of public sentiment. Everybody's going to weigh in on what they think,
Speaking of that, I want to know what everyone else thinks about these two charts. and
Yeah.
the energies, and put some comments down below, because we love to read the comments and bring some up. I mean, this question came from someone that commented on the last YouTube video about the charts. So we'd love to hear what you guys think about it too.
Yeah. And that's not to say if Putin dissolves and his power dissolves, he goes away, that there isn't going to be some other whacked up leader that will,
Yeah, it seems like when one goes
fascist,
away, another one is right
right?
behind them. Yeah.
Another fascist leader may come in who could even be worse than Putin. We
Oh,
don't
geez.
know. It's this world stage is nothing but a crapshoot. We really don't know, and there is so much going on underneath the surface that people are not aware of in terms of our government's decisions and what the Ukraine was involved in, what Putin has been doing. This is just an exercise in showing you the type of people that we're dealing with. And it's nothing more than that, and other than looking at it and saying, I think Putin's out and Zelensky's going to be out of trouble pretty soon. But not Putin. And frankly, and I'm just going to toss this out there, I think by the end of September, Putin will be gone. And I think also Biden will be gone for one reason or another. And the Queen will be gone. I think these three world leaders are on their way out for different reasons. I think the Queen is, her health is really bad. She's in her 90s. She's just going to die. And Biden, his cognitive issues are getting worse and worse, right? And I don't think he's going to be able to be in there too much longer before he just simply has no memory nor capability for doing the job. Okay, so I'm not suggesting that he's going to die. I know his health is not good right now, and isn't for the next couple of months. He's in physical jeopardy, but it's the cognitive issues that I think are more of a problem, a combination. But Putin is different. He's going to be out of there because he's going to lose his power.
So how do you see this playing out? If we kind of zoom back out and we're sort of we're the fans in the theater watching this show and absorbing it all, like that's going on. And then additionally, we have all this sort of photonic light coming on to the earth and all this light coming in, and we're getting ascension symptoms. So how do we now take a look at this from a bird's eye view and know what to do with this information without feeling so heavy?
Well, and that is such a good question, because it is so easy for us to get emotionally wrapped up in all the drama. But what happens when we do that is we give our power away to it. And what we want to do is maintain our power. We don't want to give it away to anything. And so being emotionally neutral is critical through these kinds of things, because it allows us to keep our power and to maintain our balance. When we're angry and, just going crazy over all these things, we don't function well.
Mm-hmm.
We lose our balance. So it's best to remain emotionally neutral. And don't immerse yourself in it. I like your comment where you say, observe rather than absorb.
Right.
There's just so much wisdom in that. Okay.
Very
And
much
being
so.
in the world, seeing it, staying aware, but without immersing yourself into it and losing your balance over it.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm just kind of watching through a TV screen visually.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a visual person, so I just sort of think, okay, if I was watching this through a TV screen, that's what I need to do right now. I need to remove myself, because I don't want to contribute to the heaviness of the collective either by just holding that into my cells and my body all the time, that negativity.
Yeah. What we want to stay away from is low frequency emotions, hatred, rage, fear, just frustration and anxiety. All of those keep our frequency way down. We want to stay in gratitude, in love, and we want to stay in joy and happiness. And yes, we can still do that even though people in other parts of the world are suffering. Okay. And we have to send blessings to them. We send light to them, but we personally can't change what's happening except what we're able to do through our prayers and shedding our light. So we want to still be able to send that light. We want to still be up in a higher frequency so we can impact the world with our frequency, with our energy. And if we're deep down in the third dimensional matrix, then we can't possibly help the planet. We can't
Yeah.
even help ourselves.
Yeah.
Right?
And I know there's some people that are being called to help. You know, that comes across their timeline in their life, and
Oh,
they're
yeah.
drawn to wanting to help these people. And that doesn't mean everybody has to be there. You can do your own part if you're not there, to at least be able to sit in the light and pray
Yeah.
and think about these people and send them as much love as possible from all the way on this side of the world.
Yeah. We're here at this time on Earth because we chose it.
Yeah.
We're here because we chose it. And we knew it would be hard. We knew we had battles to fight. And so you're here, make the best of it. And don't get caught up. I love that saying, and I repeat it, be in the world, not of the world. We have to live in this world, but we don't have to wallow in it, you know, and allow our anger to get to such a point where it lowers our frequency. You know, we can
Yes.
see things, and we see injustices in our own country. We see injustices and stupid things that are going on all over the world for money and power and resources, all of this stuff. And hopefully those that are investigating it will get to the truth of all of it. So right now, especially mainstream media, just don't even go there. Everything they say are fabrications. But if you can find good sources that are not mainstream, that aren't paid by organizations to say specific things, and that's what's going on, okay? They want to protect their agendas. What all of those agendas are, we're just starting to learn, okay? So keep your ear to the ground on non-mainstream, because every single day more truth is coming out. And that's what all of this information is. The energies are with Pluto, and we had, you know, Mars and Venus conjunct Pluto. That's a dissemination of the dark information that's coming up. I mean, the court just mandated Pfizer release a 55,000 page document on the truth of the studies and the truth of the deaths and the truth of the side effects. That just came out this last week. Mainstream media hasn't touched it, but
Yeah.
it's there. But it's there, and people are going through it. And so little by little, the truth is coming out. And so we'll be able to make more informed decisions because we have more truth, you know, to fuel our feelings.
Well,
And
I
that's
think I've been able to get through that a little bit easier by thinking that way, which is, I just need to see the next piece that's going to roll out, and the next piece. I mean, one of the things that I've listened to Russell Brand, which I think he's so funny.
I love him. Yeah.
Yeah,
Russell.
he's like, he just is so neutral and honest about, like, you know, giving the facts and kind of making, you know, some light of everything. But one of the things that I know is that there's days when it feels heavier and days when things don't feel heavier. And I think you can't judge yourself right now. It feels like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Clearly, the astrology is saying it is a roller coaster this year.
Oh,
and so take that step back, surround yourself in stuff that's going to keep you, you know, at least functioning well mentally. And you're going to slip back when it feels like a heavy day.
Yes.
But staying stern and bringing yourself back to center, when you start feeling yourself, when you catch yourself, it's amazing. So you start bringing yourself back. And I know you have some tools that you can suggest too, when you feel exhaustion or any type of other ascension symptoms that are going on.
And I don't know how many people know about Bach flower remedies. They're
Mhm.
flower essences, and you can get them at your local health food store. And they have one called Olive, which has to do with exhaustion.
Oh,
And let me show it to you what it looks like. Here it is right here. This is what it looks like. And it's just a little vial. And all you do, 2 or 3 times a day, a couple drops under your tongue. And within a day or so, your exhaustion will leave you. I am not kidding. I keep it right here by my desk and take it a couple times a day, and I've lost that exhaustion. The other thing that Bach flower carries is one called Rescue Remedy, and it's a group of 3 or 4 of their flower essences. They're very, very powerful. I would get Rescue Remedy and Olive and keep those on hand and just take them and look through the display of all of the Bach flowers, and you can read what they're for right on the front of the bottle, and you can take as many as 7 of them at a time. So that's a really good, helpful thing. The other thing is the maintaining your emotional neutrality.
yes.
That's so important. We also, as we get used to and continue to deal with more death around us, it's really important that we connect with our heart and recognize that even though, people are dying around us, people have gotten the virus and so forth, that their lives don't end. They just go on to another life, and they're still around us. They haven't abandoned us, or, they're always with us. And so how we think about things makes a big, big difference if we think of it as finality or if we think about it as continuation. And there isn't anybody that's going to get off of this planet alive. So it's going to happen to all of us. And I mentioned this before, that book, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, how they talk about live well to die well. And I love that concept. That is a great book about our attitudes and our beliefs and everything we do throughout our lives, so that when it comes time for us to pass and whatever thing happens, and we've all died a bazillion times, in all the lives that we've lived, that we think about it and we die in a way where we are whole, we're happy, we understand the meaning of life and the continuation of life, and
And
that
I would
there is.
say and the meaning of life through your own eyes as well, like how well a purposeful life is for you is not the same as a purposeful life for somebody else. It
That's
may be
right.
very different.
Mhm.
So understanding yourself, which is why we started coaching, we went into, again, looking at my career at first, moving into, well, you have to kind of unearth some things that are going on before the whole career thing. So, that's, I think, really important, which is what is important to you.
Right.
And whatever it is, go out and do it.
And when our friends pass, or family members, um, like I say, it's not the end. Communicate with them, talk to them, you know, continue on as if they're standing right there. And it's interesting, the information that comes. One of my clients just recently, family member died, and she was walking out in the backyard. And there was the family member right by the picnic table, waving at her. I'm
Wow.
still here. Love you, you know. And this happens all the time. And we have to recognize that, we can't control everything. And in many cases, we can't control anything.
Yeah, I know.
And
And I was young when I lost several people. I've never been able to see anybody, but I still talk. I
yeah,
still, as if they're here, and I, resolve things that were unresolved, or needing to just sort of get that off my chest. Or for some people, like me, I'm a writer. I love to write. So, journaling or just expressing it through any way that you can to get it out.
yeah, and I agree with that. And I don't mean in any way to minimize the pain that people feel.
Right.
But I think in this day and age, we're all going to have to get used to more people dying around us. Now, if every time we, totally lose ourselves for extended periods of time and we can't function, well, that's not wisdom, is it? We want to be wise in the decisions that we make emotionally, physically, and the whole gamut. And I lost somebody this year that I still cry. Just out of the blue. It just comes up. People are losing pets, too, that it's blowing their minds. But grieve and then start moving forward. Don't
Right.
wallow in the grief. Keep grief enough and then start moving forward, because that's what our loved ones would want for us, right?
Right.
Would our loved ones want us to be wallowing and incapacitated? Of course not. They want us to move on and live happy lives. So that's something that we need to consider.
Yeah, and not to have it all doom and gloom, because there's so many bright days ahead, I think, when
I
you
do too.
begin to look at the future and when people start fighting back and standing up for what feels right at the humane level. What truly feels right, with getting rid of all the superficial layer of things that haven't functioned. I think there are a lot of brighter days ahead, and I think that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just baby steps. We take baby steps every day. And but I have a 4-word what do I call it, framework for practicing every day. And the first word is daily. The second is discipline. The third is dedication. And the fourth is devotion. If we'll use the 4 Ds, if we use those 4 Ds every day with our prayers and our spiritual practice, we're going to stay in balance much easier than if we don't and we let it go and we're not disciplined. Okay.
Well, that is super, super good news. So I know that we've been getting a lot of comments on the channel. You've been getting personal emails, so keep those coming. We really do appreciate it. And Wendy, thank you again. It's always good to hear your insights. And remember to like and subscribe if you like the channel. It helps us be able to make more videos. And you can also find links below to book a life-changing reading, trust me, with Wendy. And until next week, remember, these energies are coming into you and not from you.
Just use them wisely.
Bye, everyone.